You do pay attention to what your daddy said, don't you? My dad's routine while readying for a road trip, this was mid last century, before the interstates of Eisenhower were fructified. Infrastructure and service was more sparse than today. He made a routine of making sure that the family's ride, usually a Chrysler 300 with a big block motor, probably a 383 in this particular instance, made sure the family's ride was always in good shape and kept it maintained. But if we were going to leave on a road trip, for instance, we're going this morning, as I recall this particular instance, we're going about 100 miles to the place where his family and my mother's family grew up, down on the Alabama line in Lincoln County, Tennessee. It's about 100 miles, and in those days it would take a solid 3 hours because pretty rural. That's what I mean to say. And once you got off the road down on those dirt tracks and gravel roads where kinfolk lived, you're on your own. And so Dad would check the tires, he'd check the oil, and he'd check the slack in the drive belts and tread on the tires, see if there's anything wearing. He'd do a walk around pre-flight is what I like to call it these days. And I literally learned that procedure, that routine at his knee. Because as long as I can remember, when he was taking the family somewhere, he was making sure the car was in best shape it could be. He was going to be safe about it. He was going to get us there. As I grew up and started driving and I guess acquired a motorcycle problem, I was fortunate to have had Dad's example for taking care of equipment. I learned it from him, and I often wonder where he learned it. Now, he grew up on a dirt farm down in Lincoln County. During the Depression, they didn't have a lot. Whatever they had to take care of, and they had to maintain. There wasn't anything extra. There wasn't a lot of meat on the bone. His daddy, my grandfather, George Mitchell, managed to raise 6 kids. I think they lost one little girl as an infant, but they managed to raise 6 kids on next to nothing. They grew what they had to eat. He was a pretty good hand with horses, so he was able to horse trade and mule trade a little bit for anything that might be considered extra. Didn't have a car, I don't think, until Dad, just before he went to the Navy, I believe he got a 36 Chevy, which he used to come around a blind corner and hit a cow square in the ass. Apparently the cow was standing in the road, and he knocked the cow down, tore up his Chevy. Said the cow stood up, peed some blood, walked off, and apparently was okay after that. Back to the story at hand. I wonder where Dad learned the lessons he taught me. Now, when Dad was 18, he was riding a destroyer headed towards Tokyo Bay, trying not to get killed. He was a rated radioman, been through training, been sent to the fleet, and as one of 2 radio men on that destroyer, he got to experience what those in the Navy call port and starboard duty. What that means to civilians is that you have 12 hours on and 12 hours off, and you are responsible with whoever your duty mate is for all the comms for that ship of war in a time of war. So the ship and about 300 of your mates depend on you getting the right message to get them where they're going safely. Pretty good responsibility for an 18-year-old boy, young man. And not only were they responsible for the comms, they were responsible for the equipment that carried the communication signals. And when the safety of your ship and your crew depend on the communications that you get or don't get, you tend to do everything you can to make sure that those pieces of equipment in your charge are as good as they can be. You tend to fix it so it don't break. Maybe that's where he got it. When you ride a motorcycle, you're a lot closer to the mechanical nature of things than you are as a typical car driver. You hear and smell and taste and feel sensations that are all telling you something. They're telling you whether it's good or it's bad, whether your bike is good for the trip or needs some attention. If you're tuned into this stuff, you feel it. One way to be tuned into this stuff is to take care of the bike, to maintain the bike. When you maintain the bike, you learn the bike. This C14 Concours, last winter I put brake pads on it and flushed the hydraulic system because I wanted to put new bleed nipples on it. I had to learn that there are 7 on this bike. Wouldn't have known that had I not done a little research, and would not have known how to bleed them all had I not learned that they were all there and they all needed attention sometimes. Learn the bike. When you maintain the bike, you know when things feel right, you know when things, well, you develop a sensation for torque settings. You can feel if you're fairly close. And sometimes you get where you can anticipate that click on a torque wrench. You don't have a lot of extra steel around you on a motorcycle. These bikes, I've heard it described that the amount of rubber you have on the road is approximately equal to the amount of skin you have on the palm of one hand. So that anchor to reality is not vast. So you want everything about it to be as good as it can be, to be right. Let's talk about these critical situations. Well, going to war is one thing. Being exposed on a motorcycle is not quite the same, but you want to do everything you can to ensure that it's a good experience. Learning from Dad's examples has proven to be a good thing, especially as it applies to my motorcycle habit. So riding, you get a lot of input, you learn to pay attention to that input, and if you've maintained your bike, you can feel something's not right with that bike. Pretty good benefit. You also learn with some experience what kind of situations you might encounter out there. You might need to tighten a lever. You might need to adjust a cable. One night, about 2:40 a.m., you feel your tire let down about 12 miles southwest of Tucumcari on I-40. You felt it let down because you're familiar with the bike. You know you maintain the bike, any kind of sensation that's different, there's going to be a cause for it. Now, when the tire lets down, it's almost invariably a rear tire. I think it's because the front tire kicks the nail up into the path of the rear tire. It can be a day-changing or a trip-changing event. But if you're following the philosophy of fix it so it don't break, maybe you've thought ahead of time. Maybe you've got a patch kit or plugs. Maybe you've got a pump. Maybe you've got a flashlight. Maybe that flat tire outside of Tucumcari takes about 30 minutes to fix, and then you're back on the road to visit your mates from the Navy in San Diego. And you get there, and in time for breakfast, rather than having to call a tow truck because you didn't fix it so it don't break. When you develop this discipline of taking care of your stuff, you might find yourself enamored with certain tools. And the idea that a good tool and good fitment on a fastener, properly applied, is a very satisfactory feeling. It's another payoff for the confidence of the bike or your car or whatever you're working on, getting to where it's going, being mission capable. But having put your tools, using your hands on those fasteners to make them just so, that's kind of a special feeling. When you can't shift the blame for the bad job on the tools because the tools are too fine. You learn to suck it up and take responsibility for what you do. Builds character. When you clean your bike, you do clean your bike. Chain, oil leaks, cable lube, wax, whatever you see, you touch. If it doesn't look right, if it doesn't feel right, you address it. Another way of becoming familiar with your bike, another way of knowing when something's not just right, another way of knowing there's something there that might spoil your day or become a hazard. Take care of it. What my dad taught me, I can probably boil down to 3 points. Take care of that which takes care of you. Inspect what you expect. And the point of the whole thing, fix it so it don't break. I'll see you down the road. Ride well. See if I can lose Waymo. I don't know about those autonomous cars. They may not be capable of making a quality human decision at the right time every time. I guess if they acknowledge motorcycles, that's a good thing, because I've witnessed several humans who don't do that. Sure is hard to get a nice exhaust note at 25 miles an hour. Unless you're in the correct gear. Woohoo! I believe the front end got a light on that one.